and welcome. It's a pleasure to see so many of you joining us today. My name is Clara Pressman, and I will be moderating this interactive workshop. This webinar is part of a series within the Imagining Climate Just Future project, founded by the European Union. This session is organized by WECF, which stands for Women Engaged for a Common Future, and I would like to warmly thank all of you for taking the time to be here today, as well as our speakers for sharing the knowledge and experiences with us. So before we dive into the topic, I am very happy to introduce today's speakers. Our first speaker is Marcus Benay. He's the coordinator of the Hague Network of Energy Coaches for over 3 years, comprised of 19 initiatives, and is also one of the founders and board members of Energy Equal League, focusing on sustainability and energy initiatives, with experience in coaching and sustainability and with a strong emphasis on supporting grassroots initiatives. Thank you, Marcus, for being here today. And later we will be joined by Johannes Baumann. He's a project manager at WECF with experience in energy, climate, and gender. Johannes holds a background in economics, geography, and sustainability, and brings extensive experience in international cooperation, training, and project implementation. Thank you, Johannes. Leo, can you please go back with the slides? So today, this session is going to be recorded. If some of you have any issues with that, please just write it in the chat box. And after the presentation, we will send you the recording to all of you. So why energy poverty and the EU Green Deal? So before we start, we're going to have this very short context. Leo, if you can pass for the next slide, please. The next one. Thank you. So we are talking about energy poverty today because we are meeting in the middle of the winter and a time of cold weather and high energy bills across Europe. And for many households, this creates very real and difficult choices: heating or eating, comfort or affordability. Energy poverty is not an abstract idea, and as we will see through our speakers' presentations today, it affects everyday life, health, and well-being. The European Green Deal promises a just transition for all. However, we believe that the link between gender, energy, and inequality is still often missing from energy policies. Many policies are called gender neutral, but in practice, they do not affect everyone in the same way. Different studies show that women often have lower income, they carry more unpaid care and domestic work, and are more likely to live in poor housing conditions. And because of this, women-led households, especially single mothers and older women, are more exposed to energy poverty. These remind us that energy poverty is not only about prices and technology, but it's also about conditions and daily life. The next one, please. So from an ecofeminist perspective, which is the perspective that we have in WECF, energy poverty helps us see how inequalities are built into our energy systems. Women are still underrepresented in energy jobs and decision-making spaces, and as a result of this, their experiences are often missing when energy policies are designed. And this limits how well these policies respond to real needs. That's why at WECF, we believe that achieving a just energy transition requires gender-responsive public policies that address care and domestic care work, also housing and income inequalities. From our ecofeminist perspective, the energy transition is not only about decarbonization, but it's also about care, justice, and sustainability of life. So with this context in mind, now to help us better understand what energy poverty means in practice, I'm very pleased to invite to our first speaker, Marcus, all yours. If you want to share your screen, your presentation, Please go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Clara. Yeah, I'm glad to
Oh,
be.
sorry, Marcus, just before you start, a small note. If you have any questions, you can write it on the chat box and we will answer all the questions in the end of the webinar. Thank you. Sorry, Marcus, go ahead.
Yeah, I hope it's visible now, the presentation. Yeah, yeah. So today I'm here on behalf of the Hague Energy Coach Network, and I'm talking about the topic of inequality, energy inequality, and actually we've come a long way, and I hope to be able to also share a little bit about the path that it has taken in The Hague, and still the challenges that we're still facing. So I'll be going over what the network entails, the changing policy landscape, and also use energy equal lack as a case study. And afterwards also I already had a topic that can be used for dialogue, but I heard that it's also possible to provide additional topics. So it's just a small suggestion. So to start, here in The Hague, we have a unique approach of actually a group of decentralized initiatives that already were there. And afterwards, like an umbrella, it was decided to work together in order to get a little bit more leverage and also to obtain some volunteer benefits. And right now it's comprised of 19 initiatives. We have together, last year we had over 1,500 conversations. And these are conversations held with inhabitants inside their homes. And we have 100 to 150 energy coaches. And I would say like 90% of those are volunteers. And a lot of these are grassroots organizations. Some can be corporations that also have solar panels, like the Groene Regentes. Others have a social focus. And so it's very broad the way it's here in The Hague. And in that respect, also people can tackle different energy challenges across the city. When it comes to the evolving landscape, I was intrigued by the topic that we're talking about today because I've witnessed it as well here in The Hague. Whereas when we started, or when I started in 2021, I noticed that a lot of the policy was focused on homeowners. An example is here, if you look at the leaflet, you don't need to look at the details, but to know that the green parts here on the right, those two sections of this leaflet were for tenants.
Marcus, sorry.
Yeah.
We are still on the first slide.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Okay. My apologies. Yeah. Let's see if I share the PowerPoint. Yeah, it's always glad to be here, but it's a new I do a lot via Teams. Let's see. Now,
no worries.
Yeah.
Now we can see a different slide. Yes, thank you.
Okay. So I went over the program, and so this is the group of initiatives. There are 19 initiatives, and here you can read it back. The presentation is also shared. Feel free to look at it afterwards. And so what I was going over was that there is the green parts of this particular leaflet were actually focused on the tenants, and the rest was focused on homeowners. And we saw a distinct focus always on the homeowners. And this is also something that has changed over time. And that's something that I witnessed because I also started prior to the energy crisis, but a lot of things changed afterwards. And so, whereas a lot of the energy coaches first focused on homeowners' needs, later on the policy shifted. And this is most apparent looking at the timeline. So you can see here in 2019, over 90% of the conversations were with homeowners. And later on, in last year, over 53% of the conversations were with tenants. So the majority has become conversations with tenants. So this is a change that also was because a lot of people started to realize that when it comes to subsidies, a lot of people that are not able to speak Dutch very well, are not educated, or people that are not homeowners are left out. So again, with this leaflet, in the past, a lot of the funds went towards the homeowners, but unfortunately, the tenants were left out of the equation. Uh, in terms of our own case study, yeah, it's interesting to note. We actually started with a group focused on tenants in 2022, and we strive to improve the reality that people face when it comes to energy inequality. And yeah, one of the things that we try to do is we provide the coaching, but we also try to provide measures in order to ensure that people actually have an incentive to reach out, because for a lot of people that are struggling, something like making your home more sustainable seems to be almost like a privilege. So our logo also reflects there being a balance between the environment, comfort of an individual, uh, equality, as well as the energy transition, where we try to ensure that we're not using any fossil fuels anymore in the future. So we focus on the curtains because of the fact that it's something real and tangible that people understand. And this also relates to some of the challenges that we're struggling with still to this day. But we have already provided curtains to over 120 households, combined with an energy conversation where we visit their home, we discuss with them how to improve their living conditions and go over their energy bills. And we see that a lot of the issues are because of their living situation, but also because of structural issues when it comes to, for example, a lack of renovation, limited funds, or complicated situation with regards to homeowners associations. And the logo for this campaign is the wren, in Dutch winterkoning, and it represents how we're trying to make everybody have a cozy little nest of themselves for themselves, that keeps them warm through the winter. And yeah, we usually actually our name is energy equal lack, and we try to avoid the word energy poverty because it causes a lot of stigmatization, and also because energy inequality is more holistic, in the sense of energy poverty can sometimes make people think that if they're not in a socioeconomic bracket of poverty, they're not part of it. But you can also, of course, not be able to pay your energy bills if you have a home that is large and is not well insulated. So it's energy inequality also encompasses the other socioeconomic brackets. And also, yeah, like I mentioned, the stigmatization, we want to be inclusive. So we try to limit the use. And yeah, talking about stigmatization, that's one of the challenges. Of course, you don't want people to think that by getting free curtains they're considered poor, but there are more structural challenges. So we also realize there's a lack of awareness. So in our community, a lot of people simply don't know all the possibilities to get small measures, whether it's curtains or from the government. And yeah, in order to gain more trust, we also have had some social media campaigns, because for people in Laak, by the way, has been at times voted the worst neighborhood in the Netherlands. I would never describe it, but in terms of social cohesion and also crimes committed. So here it's also very difficult to let a stranger inside your home. Apart from that, we also see people come and go, and that's with our volunteers. But I can also say, as a coordinator throughout The Hague, that actually it's in other parts of the cities as well, a theme where you see that simply people don't plan on living there for the rest of their lives. So therefore, um, it's more difficult to maintain volunteers, and there's also skepticism because when somebody does not have a lot of funds, it is questionable if letting a stranger come inside your home will actually make a difference and change your situation. So we also try to have networking events like Sustainable Doers in order to get people motivated and to also increase more trust. I think, the components of a fair transition, as will be discussed, I think, in the breakout rooms, to us are structural housing investments, also low threshold measures that are inclusive and to increase engagement, but also relying on trusted actors and using the strengths in the communities. And here you can see, for example, Luba. She's a Ukrainian refugee, and she's also a terrific volunteer that has assisted with making a lot of curtains. And so we use the diversity we have in our environment as to our advantage. And I think finally also a recognition of unpaid care and household labor is also something important because, of course, the topic of today is gender, and a lot of uh, women are also in homes when it comes to single parent households. That's also a topic. And so therefore also energy inequality is not gender neutral, like Clara also said. And so, considering 83% of single parent households are vulnerable, are headed by women, it's also something to take into consideration. And so that was the presentation part for me. As a topic, I was also interested in discussing what would a gender just energy transition look like locally for you. I saw a broad community. A lot of people came here from all over the world. So maybe that's a topic for in the breakout rooms.
Thank you, Marcus. And this is a very interesting question to continue discussing. Thank you for setting the scene so clearly. And I think it's very interesting to think about energy inequality instead of energy poverty. So thank you very much. Now, before we go to our second speaker, we would like to hear from you, from your reflections. So now you will see this QR code. So please, you can scan it. And you will go to a Mentimeter activity that we would like to reflect together on the questions. How do you manage heating in winter? And how do you cope with cooling during summer heat waves? Please just share your experiences. There are no right or wrong answers. The goal is to bring everyday knowledge and lived experiences into discussion. So feel free to answer with your own experiences. So Isa, maybe you can share your screen to see the results so far, if we already have some answers. Also, we have a very interesting question on the chat. We will keep it for the end. So thank you, Kuba, for your question. We will answer when the speakers will try to answer in the end of the presentations. Thank you, Isa. We can see it now. So we have some answers. So aircon, electric heating, warm clothes, ventilate, okay, indoor heating. As you can see, we have so many different answers. Okay, so Sophia says that she can't enter the Mentimeter, but she says Okay, installation on your windows. Of course, if some of you wants to turn on the microphone, you're also welcome to do it. Okay, so as we can see, we have many different ways. Okay, maybe we can go to the other one, Isa. And also we can keep in mind all these answers for the breakout rooms in which we are going to discuss a little bit more in that. So how do you manage to cooling in summer? Okay. So maybe Isa, you need to refresh the closed curtains, as Nina. Open the windows at night. Okay, so these are all strategies that you have to. Okay,
Yeah, it
Isa,
isn't
we
it as
can't see
right
it.
in the menu right now. It says, please wait for the presenter to change slides. At least in my case, it says so.
Yeah, mine as well.
Okay, well, Isa is working on that. Okay, if we are experiencing some issues with this, we can use the
Yeah, I
answers
can
made.
try to share my screen, and because
Oh,
I'm the
okay.
admin, so then.
We can't see anything yet. Okay, there we go.
Yes, now it works.
No.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, we can't see it. But I think we will continue because we will run out of time. We will have these answers later. And we, as I said before, we will send all this after the webinar. So I'm sorry for your answers, but we have very short time. So thank you anyway for sharing your reflections and to connect these live experiences with concrete initiatives and policy link action. Now I'm happy to invite to our second speaker, Johannes Baumann. Johannes, over to you. Leo is gonna put your presentation, I think.
Yes, thank you. I hope you can hear me clear and properly. I had some
Yes.
technical issues, but I think it's solved now mainly. But I'm happy that the presentation is shared for me to not put this at risk. So I would be happy if the presentation is shared and then we can start into it. So what I wanted to show you, I wanted to show you a project which I'm currently working in. It's called Gender for Power, and it's an EU Live project which started in the end of 2024. It's not only in Germany, so I'm based in Munich, but it's in 6 European countries, which you can see here on the slides. And we try to do similar things in all of these countries. And what we are doing, can you see on the next slide what the main goal is? So the objective is to improve the living condition of households affected by energy poverty. We just learned that inequality would be here a better term for Marcus, but since the project was built around energy poverty, I still stick to this term. I hope it's okay. And what or how we are trying to doing is through the demonstration and implementation of gender responsive, multi-stakeholder and people-centered solutions. And this in the fields of renewable energy and energy efficiency. So you see that as the name already indicates, it should be really a gender responsive project, and it should be started from the community for the community. So maybe you can show the next slide. So what are we doing now in Munich? We are focusing on the area, it's called Neuperlach, and it's one of the poorer districts in Munich. It's in the very east, and it was mainly built after the Second World War, like in the 50s and 60s. So the houses are quite old, and there's a lot of to do in regarding renovations to have a better building stock. And it's also a very multicultural place or district, I would say. And with also different social challenges. And on the right side, you can see a AI generated picture with canvas, like I once put in how could look the future of Neuperlach, and you see there's a lot of green also on the roofs, and also a lot of spaces and green in between, and also the buildings look quite newish or renovated. So at the moment, currently, it does not look like this, but this could be a great future. And what we are trying to do, we really try to develop for this district new strategies, strengthen the community engagement, also not only with renovation, but also trying to do things like self-consumption, electricity production, and energy sharing, going in this direction also. And one of the main points was also to create a gender-just energy cooperative which could serve the community there. So on the next slide, you see a bit more of the concept. So the first step would be recognizing the need for these gender responsive and intersectional approaches to elevate energy inequality. Then also the central role of multi-stakeholder collaboration and co-creation. And therefore, we created a so-called energy cafes. I have an extra slide on this, but just to mention it here already, because we thought a lot on how to approach the community. Then also strengthening the city-led initiatives to accelerate the integration of social and gender justice. So here we could be proud that already one energy cooperative has formed, and they are in the now in the beginning to having first projects installing PV plants on roof and trying to grow. So we are cooperating with them to make it happen, to scale them up and to serve the district of Neuperlach. And the last part, comes at a later stage of our project. We try further to design solutions, having solutions and measures to alleviate energy poverty. So this is what we hope we can get from the energy community, which is growing right now. It's, like I said, at an early stage, but also from our energy cafes as a meeting hub. Let's put it like this. And maybe you can go on to the next slide. So what we're facing at main challenges, especially in the beginning, is really to accessing energy poor households and also the mobilizing of them, because we are not, our office is not in Neuperlach, so we are not so much known there. And it was not so easy to build trustful relationships with the community. And therefore, we created the Energiecafé Neuperlach. And maybe you can go to the next slide. And what is it about? So we try to make it really a place which is in Neuperlach, which is also a low threshold support. We did this with having a cultural organization which was offering their space for us and also the collaboration. So 2 persons of this space are now so-called ambassadors, community ambassadors. And they are, because they have their role, normally their cultural role in Neuperlach, they are really well known and have good access to the people, to the community. And this builds trust and helps us to have better access, which otherwise would not have happened this way, just trying to do it from our side or from our office. And we already had the first sessions, and it's nice. It's a very diverse audience which participating, and we have in February further session to launch like a wonder concept where the Energy Cafe then also is hosted in different schools, associations in Neuperlach to further strengthen the recognition of it. And in this Energy Cafe, we are discussing a lot about possibilities, what can be done, which efficiency measurements, which funding mechanisms are in place, support. So people come just with, I would say, with problems or ideas, and we discuss it and try to form like a group which, can work on solutions. Maybe you can go to the next slide. We also did some research, and I also wanted to come up with this, and I think the topic was also already addressed by Marcus. So what we see as one of the main challenges is because the structure, the governance structure of the building when it comes to renovation is quite complicated. So there's also, I would say, kind of a power structure because funding programs are always for the owners of the building. So if tenants are coming, they've only limited power to do something. And there are also, if it's a multifamily building with more owners, there are owner assemblies, and it's not so easy to get something done and to convince the majority of the owners to do something. And I think this is one of the biggest struggles. It came up during this research, which we will face and try to handle in the future of the project. So if there are good ideas from your side, we are very happy to receive them. And yes, another challenge is, like I said, the access of the funding programs. So it's often not so easy. It's bureaucratic. It's a lot of paper things to fill in. I would say it's very German, put it like this. And of course, there's also with the renovations, the fear from tenants that this could lead to rising rents. And though sometimes they are also not so prone or so engaged in the beginning to say, yeah, we want to have these renovations, so hesitating a bit. And I think it's also something which have to be spoken about and things which have to be discussed about how to deal with it. And yes, I think this is my last slide, I think.
Thank
I
you
leave,
very
I
much.
leave, I leave you with the challenges. Maybe it's not so nice, but maybe it's good for discussion.
Thank you very much, Johannes. We have a lot to think about and to continue discussing, but thank you for sharing these concrete examples. Now we are going to move into breakout rooms, and the idea is to reflect together and share some experiences from your own communities also we can continue thinking about the challenges that Johannes proposed. So you will be divided into groups. I've also added Marcus' question because I think is very interesting also. So the idea is to reflect on these three questions. We will have 10 minutes to do this. So now you will be divided and then we will come back together to discuss in the plenary session. And again, thank you for the questions in the chat box. We will have a couple of minutes in the end to answer everything. So let's go to the breakout rooms. And we will be back in 10 minutes.
Hi everyone, can everyone hear me? Okay. Yes, so if I'm not mistaken, the questions are already in the chat. But I will read the questions once again. Oké, chat. Oké, al die vragen in de chat. Yes, can everyone in this breakout room hear the see the questions in the chat? All right, so so the first one, what initiatives do you know in your community that addresses energy poverty? So I can maybe start with the first one.
Hi, everyone. Happy to see you all. I hope you had time to discuss at least some of the questions. In my group, we were in the middle of the discussion and we had to come, but we can continue a little bit more now. Is everyone back? I'm not sure. I think that there are quite a few participants that still have to come to the general plenary session. Because we were like 45 and we are still 30. So, but well, the idea of this moment is that please you can open your microphones. Also, if some of you from each of the rooms wants to share the reflections, maybe some input, some reflections, please go ahead. And then we will go to the questions that we have in the chat box from Admore and from Cuba. Yes. So please, if someone wants to start, maybe Monica from our group and then some from another room.
Sure, I can start us off. And folks, please help me out and I'll bring all of the ideas that I forgot. I was just mentioning about the accessibility in many different dimensions. How important it is really to think that, for example, in the cities, the challenges can be high bills, while in the rural areas, it can be just infrastructure, lack of infrastructure. And I'm speaking mostly about Poland, although I live in France, I very often act in Poland. And as a possibilities, I see the approach to as a challenge and possibilities, I see accessibility. So how we can utilize municipalities or, for example, museums. Like now we are working with Museum of Immigration that creates spaces, invites migrants, seniors to discuss together how we can support them in their challenges. Yeah, I think I can stop here.
Thank you, Monica. Maybe someone from another group wants to share something.
I can share if yeah we were also getting into the discussion and then of course the time was up. No, we had a talk about how interpretations of energy poverty and also initiatives that take care of it. And I think one of the things that came by was that like different countries, different approaches, and how you can even consider a community center where people can come and reduce their own energy by turning it off and going there is also a way to fight energy poverty. And it's something they do in the Netherlands where LSA has a heat boost, and they also provide that for certain communities. I also heard interesting from Denmark how there were places where you could go and swim as well when it's hot in order to reduce the heat. So that was interesting. And we also had an interesting contribution from an inhabitant of Germany, but from Ghana originally, who mentioned that poverty, energy poverty, when we were talking about it in Europe, if it should really be considered poverty, which was also something that was food for thought in the sense of do we really know? Is the poverty really proportional to the poverty experienced in other places? And it also led a little bit to the discussion on the increase in temperatures. I think we still a lot of topics to mention. Please add if I missed something.
Thank you, Marcus. That's also very interesting. I don't know if there is someone from another group or someone that wants to share or add anything else. that you have been
Maybe.
discussing?
Maybe I come in quick, just a short. As Marcus was saying, I raised that. My name is Romana, sorry. I'm a project manager for the Global Renewables Congress of the World Future Council. So I'm somehow helping members of parliament to understand the energy transition, especially in the global south, and to engage with other parliamentarians to understand how to map out laws that would positively push the energy transition agenda. So when we were talking about energy poverty, given my background, I was born and raised in Ghana, and you know how the energy situation is. And coming to Germany, I've been here for 13 years, getting to 14 years, and compare it like I joined because I really needed to understand what is energy poverty in Europe. Is there really energy poverty in Europe? Because compared to global south or from Ghana, where people don't even have access, like it's non-existent. So I was just fascinated to understand that yes, if we really go deep into it, there is, even though we might not, like somebody like me might not see it as energy poverty, but it is there. And maybe it's about time we bring that into the transition discussion to understand that if we really want to make this transition work for everyone, leaving no one behind, then all these issues need to be in it. And we need to push it at the local level, at the parliamentary level, wherever you find yourself. Because today has opened my eyes. I never thought there is something like energy poverty. Even though poverty here is really in discussion, in quotation, but I think that this is something that we should take away with to understand. We should push for it now here, but we should also push that if this is poverty, then you can understand what people in the global south who have never even seen, like they have no access, what they are going through. How do we make sure that no one is left behind in this energy transition? Thank you.
Thank you, Romana. That was very interesting. And yeah, it's a very important reflection. I don't know if Marcus or Johannes wants to maybe give another reflection to Romana. I just want to say that I completely agree with your reflection, thinking from the global south. And I think that for this, it's very interesting to think, as Marcus said before, to change from energy poverty to energy inequality. Because maybe if we think it in that way, instead of thinking about poverty, because I will say the same as you said, like, yeah, there is no energy poverty if we think it in comparison to what's happening in the global south. But maybe if we think about inequality, then we can understand the problem in this way. So thank you, Romana, very much for your reflection. I don't know if Marcus or Johannes, please just turn on. Yeah, I can see hands up from Johannes. And then we will go to the questions in the chat box. Thank you again, Romana.
Yes, thank you, Ramana. I would totally agree with you that we have different levels here. I think what puts it a bit in perspective is also when also poverty is measured, there's also this term of measured in relation. And I think when we are now in our project, we measure it in Europe, and it's relative to the living standards we have in Europe. But I totally agree that there are much severe situations, for example, in the global south, which also should be reflected in this discussion. So maybe this is just my 2 cents to say that, or to bringing this term of relative poverty or relative energy poverty.
Thank you, Johannes. I can see Monica is raising up the hand, or that's all. Yeah.
Just very
Please go
briefly,
ahead.
yeah, I would love to just thank so much for all of these different perspectives. And yet I would love to just remind them that, impacts of climate risks are also dependent on not only on vulnerability, but also exposure. So now, although I'm in France, where usually it's relatively warmer, here in Poland, actually now we have -20 at night in the next days. And I'm realizing that actually migrants are completely not prepared for that, right? So they not only they have really lacking infrastructure, but they are actually truly exposed. So also it's very important to remember about different situations. Each situation is very unique, and we still have actually very severe winters here, and I see that some people completely cannot cope with that. So it's very important to be aware of the unique of the diversity of each situation for all situations.
Yeah, thank you, Monica. Where Kuba was saying something very similar, he said, just to stress, people still freeze to death in winter in Europe. And I think this is poverty, even in spite of social wealth and infrastructure. So I think we are on the same
And
page.
maybe just to add,
So,
on the heat
yes,
side, the northern countries have the same problem now, right? Like you've been adapted social and infrastructural to heat in the south. It's still really extreme, but the northern countries are extremely struggling. Like you could see UK heat waves, right? And how the countries are
yeah,
prepared for this. So it's exactly about what you were used to as a society.
yeah, exactly. Thank you, Kuba. So we are almost on time. We are actually 4 minutes late, but if there is anyone else who wants to share their reflections from the plenary sessions, then I will go to the questions on the chat box for Johannes and Marcus. Yeah. So one of the questions was from Cuba that he says, I wonder if participants are aware of any energy exuberance taxes or funds that are penalizing excessive use of energy and earmarked for funding initiatives limiting energy poverty in the EU 27 or Europe as such. Johannes or Marcus, if you want to answer, or if anyone in the room.
Yeah, I can begin. Yeah. I think that there are different there is increasing awareness about this, and when it comes to exuberance, I think penalizing. We're talking about the landlords. Is that correct? Where there's an excess of energy usage, or am I seeing that wrong? Maybe, Kuba, maybe you can elaborate if I'm yeah.
Yeah, like I'll go even one scale bigger. Like there is a lot of analysis how the wealthy, the really wealthy, not only the tenant houses, are excessively using the energy space we have on countries and on a global level. But when we talk energy poverty, we go back again to what we can do on the scale for those people affected. And there's almost like leaving out, the responsibility for people having too much energy or using too much energy when there is poverty, and how to make those two spaces equal. So I'm just flagging this because I see loads of initiatives on supporting energy poor in Europe in a very good sense, but they sort of take away the pressure also from making sure that it's a connected resource, right? Somebody uses too little because somebody uses too much, and the prices go up because somebody uses too much. It's just this observation. And I don't know any such funds. I'm looking for them. They would seem natural, but so far they're not.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's an interesting input. I was not aware of actually the focus on this, but we do include people of all socioeconomic brackets in energy conversations because, of course, it are the wealthiest people that often use the highest amount of energy. So it's something complicated. And here in the Netherlands, a lot is also about your own freedom. So it's very hard to penalize something like that often. It's not common. But it is a good point indeed. Yeah.
Johannes, please go ahead.
Yes, I think there are no punishments, but they try to build up certain governance structures with laws. For example, in Germany, if you are renovating or building new houses, you have to have certain standards from energy efficiency points and also from renewable energy you have to take into account. So I think from this perspective, also some states in Germany, they want that you have to have photovoltaics on your roof. There's a law, for example. So things like this, where it's governed by or ruled by the government. And I think on the other side, when looking at the European context, there's also the emission trade system where certain sectors are part of, and you have to pay if you emit too much CO2 emissions with buying more certificates. And there's currently the preparation to include also the building sector, which was up to now excluded. And so this will also force you from a monetary part to be more efficient and also to push forward renovations. So I think there are no penalties or on using energy, but it's trying to be governed this way, I would say, or steered this way.
Thank you, Johannes. Now we will go to the last question from Rufina. Also, Rufina, if you're here, you can also turn on your microphone and you can maybe speak up. But if not, I can read it. It says renovation and clean energy programs often require upfront investments. What mechanisms are proving cost effective in reaching women who are renters, informally housed, or financially excluded from credit systems? Marcus or Johannes, thank you, Cuba, for the report you put in the chat. Maybe if some of you wants to give an answer or have an answer for Rufina.
Sorry, I did not get the question 100%. Was it on how gender aspects are included in funding support? Was this the
Yes, maybe
question?
Rufina, if you wants to. You can turn on your microphone.
Yeah, so
Okay.
yeah, I have it here written how it requires upfront investment and that it can be challenging. That was the question, right? What mechanisms are proving effective, most effective in reaching women who are renters, informally housed, or financially excluded from credit systems? Yeah. So I think as the point as Johannes made as well, like for a lot of tenants in general, it's incredibly complicated. They don't want to see their rent go up. So from the hundreds of houses I have seen where it was proposed to even do something like that to make changes, that it's still a little bit controversial because most tenants don't plan on staying there long. When it comes to the other programs, I see in the Netherlands, I can say that they have lowered the bar. They've made it less complicated after the energy crisis as a whole, but that it's not specifically targeted at women. And I think you make the point as well with the question that actually women are a little bit left out of the equation. And I would go as far as to say in general in the Netherlands, if you're not highly educated, you're already left out of the equation because it's incredibly complicated to do these subsidies, to get them. these are long trajectories, and yeah, it's so overall they're not inclusive systems. I would say, yeah.
Definitely, I totally agree with you, Marcus. So thank you so much. We are already on time. Please, Leo, if you wants to go to the last slide. So before we close, I would like to warmly thank you, all of you, for your time, your contributions. Thank you so much, Johannes and Marcus, for being here with us today. As I said before, we will share the main conclusions and the key takeaways with all of you in the coming days. And we are happy to continue with these conversations in our upcoming webinars. In the screen, you can see the dates. But we also invite you to follow WECF on social media to stay updated on all upcoming activities that we are having. And thank you again for being here with us. It was a big pleasure to have you all, and have a great afternoon. And we hope to see you in the following webinars that we will be hosting. Thank you.
Thank you a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.